Welcome to the Rebel Mike podcast. We're here with Lance Dewbre from Clarity Coaching Center. He is not only a great friend of mine, but he has a segment on this podcast, Breakthroughs with Lance. We might rename it in the future. Right now, that's what we're working from. But I wanted to do a special session with just Lance this week because you need to know who Lance is, how he got to where he is at right now, and he keeps evolving. So the Lance you're about to meet is not going to be the same Lance in a month, 2 weeks, like a year, but it's always good. So I just want to be clear though, we might do another session like this in like a year and you'll be like, who is this guy? It's the same guy. He gets better and better. It's crazy. Stay tuned. But Lance, welcome.
Thank you. So excited to be here. I love your Red Bull podcast, not only for the name, but for what you represent of having honest conversations and real talk. So I love that.
I had to do a description earlier, and I was trying to really narrow it down, and I was like, I want to have people like rabbis and people like Jeffree Star. So there is no way to pigeonhole this because so many people hold so much value. Like the value isn't in the gold and the industry and the corporations. The value is in humans. We hold so much, and you're really great at bringing it out. But what I wanted to do today was talk about how Lance became Lance of Clarity Coaching Center, because from what I understand, you could do whatever you want. You've had other opportunities. Anything, I mean, everything I've seen you set your mind to, you were like, I'm going to go to Hawaii and I'm going to learn this. And you did, and you got certified. And I mean, you're just incredible. So I imagine that if you said you wanted to be a lawyer or you wanted to own a car dealership, I mean, whatever you wanted to do, it would happen. So let's tell the people why you chose what you chose. I'm going to let you explain it. You do it way better than me. And I want you to go ahead and feel free to be honest about what you've had to overcome, because a lot of people think I'm the most messed up person I know. Nobody's worse than me. Or so just show them like we're all messed up. We all need to do work on ourselves. And it's a never ending battle, because you're going to get to one spot and be like, wow, I really like myself. And then 10 days later, you're going to be like, I don't like that person anymore. I need to do more. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so wonderful segue here. So you had a lot of opportunity. It was interesting. Both my grandparents actually grew up like super, super poor. My grandpa was kicked out of his house when he was 7 years old, and my other grandpa was actually physically hurt by, I think it was like seven stepdads. So definitely some serious stuff there. And growing up, my dad was everything from a Vietnam veteran to, son of that father who was my grandpa who, unfortunately didn't know much about this work and was, stayed pretty bitter. And through that hard time, my father started a Western store. And throughout the years, he's known as the Western Ambassador of Dallas. And we ended up working with huge corporate events like Google, Twitter, Cars.com, Bon Jovi, Elton John, Kevin Hart, Ice Cube, Pink, Walker, Texas Rangers. Um, yeah, Yellowstone actually. I was even at one of their my one of my friends actually got to be on the show as well from our Western store. So pretty awesome. And then throughout that time and him overcoming things, we did some real estate. We ended up doing some huge Western hat events, up to 10,000 hats in a weekend, with 500 pairs of boots in a weekend. So there was that start. And so I'm sure people were like, okay, cool. Well, why not that or whatever? Well, I had those opportunities, and trust me, I thought that was the route, and I tried to force myself even when it wasn't comfortable because I thought I that was direction and I was being lazy or not trying hard enough. I'm an only child, only grandchild, three family-owned businesses ran from home. So it's great in some ways. In some ways, it's a lot of pressure and a lot to do, and you grow up incredibly fast. So to segue into like how in the world did I even get into this holistic heal, whatever this is, holistic, integrative psychology or alternative medicine or whatever this is, right? This isn't therapy. This isn't, anything to do with medical. This is basically just different forms of coaching. So when I was a young man, the other thing my father really worked a lot with was hypnotherapy. And he was known as a deliverance pastor in church and really helped people get rid of some pretty deep beliefs. So as I was a kid, by about 15, I was already doing a little bit of hypnotherapy and what you'd call timeline. So example, Amy, would be, hey, Amy, I have a picture as we're praying together. Let's say you have a picture of a red Corvette. And go, hey, does this red Corvette mean something to you? And you're like, yeah, Lance, my ex, he's a jerk and he drove that car or something and I'm still mad at him. So go, okay, cool. Well, let's go back and float back and ask the Holy Spirit, God, source to bring you back to that original memory and ask Jesus, ask God, what does he or she need to do for you to be able to really be okay with this and be done with this? And through that little simple thing, we just saw miraculous things happen. People with huge trauma like gone, it seemed like, and people dealing with very deep issues. I remember one a few of my favorites was this guy was crying and said, I see like the shield now that God's protecting me. And I had to pray with a young man. And he said, God just kissed me on the forehead. He says, forgive your father and go connect again. Your dad was just being a human. And so after all of those and playing with that, I got in some pretty hardcore religiosity, dealt with a lot of my own anger, sadness, and I had these tools, but we were coming home and my folks and I were arguing a lot and yeah, got kind of confusing.
I want to break in for just a second. You and I have had some very deep private conversations about how being preachers' kids, both of us are. I feel like we're a very damaged demographic because everybody's like, your dad's the preacher, and I'm like, I didn't choose that for him. Like that was his choice, and yeah, I would, yeah.
A lot
So,
of pressure to put on preachers and preachers' kids, man, to be this certain way.
well, that expectation, but also, do you feel like people that, and this is not a bad thing, but when we really try to walk out our faith, but are very aware of our imperfections, to where it almost becomes an obsession fixing them until we realize it's just part of who we are and we need to integrate it and love that part too. Um, do you think some of that comes from that religious background? Because I can't say it doesn't, but I look at people who don't have a religious background and they're so free. They're like, they can go to a nude beach and I'm sitting there like in my sweater, right? My I wear your grandpa's clothes. I look incredible. Thrift shop stuff. I've got Mr. Rogers sweater on at all times. And I still can't reach certain levels of freedom because modesty was beat into me at such a young age that if I have any skin showing, I feel exposed. And these things are weird, but at this age, 4 decades old, I'm like, okay, cool. This is who we are now. Um, but do you think that played into some of people's damage? Does that play into it, that religious bearing?
It's a wonderful question and one I want to be, careful answering because I think there's some beautiful things in definitely religion. But if we look at religion of what the word means, it is a way to connect to God, right? And so I think a lot of people get stuck in that dogma because even my father was growing up with stuff like if you wear a watch, you go to hell. If you play sports, you go to hell. I was taught if I held my dingling too long, if I go to the bathroom, you might go to hell. Like it's kind of strange, and it keeps you, a little too much on your toes, I think. And I wound up going to the 6 month prayer retreat program, and it ended up being the worst I ever got. I ended up leaving. I ended up for the first time having these super dark thoughts of just not wanting to be here and all this stuff. But I look back, I'm like, man, I do 3 hours straight of prayer of I'm bad and God forgive me and I'm such a dirty worm. I'm so awful and thank goodness I'm not a blah blah blah. And some people I know are still there, and it's been a decade. And for me, that did not work for me because to me, that was a lot of hellfire, brimstone, needing to earn and to appease or approve. And I remember too, I've had like a handful of pastors. I'd come up to the front when they do this big sermon, And I'd hear, oh, you're not safe or you may be going to hell. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, that was Jesus talking to you. It's a good thing you're listening to that fear voice. So, not the healthiest. I don't think that's love, joy, and peace, man. So, there definitely can be some beauty to church, congregation, coming together, especially really being in spirituality, which I, for one, believe the biggest thing I believe is the fruits of the spirit has been my favorite scriptures in the world that I always hold on to. Because to me, if I'm acting out and having that frequency of love, specifically joy, peace, patience, then the rest of the thing should be feeling itself. I think Jesus was kind of pissed at the people who had all the rules and regulations and let me tell you the rights and wrongs and how to do it, because then we're all compartmentalizing in like, okay, well, I better make sure I'm right or else dad's gonna get me. That doesn't sound like an, endless love from the Father. So I definitely don't understand it all. It's ever growing, but one of the biggest things that I keep seeing from multiple religions and cultures and things and the overall theme is being in that love frequency, which we know now is in a Hertz frequency scale. Funny enough, love, joy, and peace is in the 6, 7, 8, 10, and the anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt that we help clear in a lot of these modalities is in like the 300s. So, I think that's what he was really talking about, is being in that, bringing heaven to here and being in that higher state. At least that's the best I got.
Yeah, and I guess my biggest concern is when we start to heal, we feel guilt at first.
Mm.
When we come from a religious background, it's like, wait, you're letting go of that thing that you were told makes you holy or righteous. You're letting go of that self-flagellation of like beating yourself down as soon as you're moving in the right direction. You're like, is it really the right direction? Is God mad at me? And we talked about how, like when I was a little girl, I thought I was going to hell for having thoughts. And I remember the one thought, I stayed up all night praying because I thought for sure I was going to hell because I saw a big woman and I was like, wow, she's fat. And I'm like 8 years old, laying in bed. I think I was younger than that because that was in a different house and I didn't move out of that house till I was 8 years old. Anyhow, I stayed up the whole night begging God not to take me in my sleep because I would go to hell. But then, like, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, yeah, but she was fat. Like you weren't making a judgment of her character or who she was. You were just like, wow, that's big. Wow, okay. And as a child, that's how we make sense of the world, right? Bigger than me, littler than me, scary, okay, whatever. So anyhow, I just want people to like realize healing can be uncomfortable. And you went through a lot of searching, right, Lance? Like,
I did. No, I counted once. It was something like 35 healing modalities. And I just honestly stopped counting after that because I was like, well, I don't know. This is plenty to say. Yeah, everything I could find because the basics I was doing wasn't working. And then, like you, I got into this really pretty hard religiosity of, yeah, my thoughts are bad or this is bad and I'm evil and I got to kill the flesh. And even myself, I've been realizing, wow, I don't think I've actually been eating consistently. I even just noticed recently this old, like, you got to hate the flesh thing. So it's amazing how all those little things are stuck in there. And then, yeah, once we wanting to release and grow, we're so used to this habit, this pattern recognition, this way of doing of, self-hurting or yelling or, hey, Lance, you better do it, let's go, of a way to motivate. But then we learn really that's not the healthiest fuel and it doesn't last that long. And then when we get what we want, we can't really go much further because the fuel doesn't work. We can't really beat ourselves up more to get there because we're there. So the fuel stops. It's kind of odd, right? A different way of going, hey, actually, what if I actually sit in desire what brings joy? But a lot of religiosity can go, oh, well, your desires are bad or something. Well, man, that's not very healthy either. Doesn't it say follow the desires of your heart? Skip that one. Right? So there's definitely something there, I think, especially in the Hawaiian tradition that I studied that I loved a lot, which was like, man, if you're gifted in this of like carving wood, you put him with the canoe guy. It's versus like right, wrong, good or bad. Now we're always in our head judging and getting stuck in here versus sitting with our higher self, our heart, our spirit, and feeling that guidance.
that's really good. So you did these 35 other modalities, probably more, but like you said, you just kind of gave up counting because that's enough. Um,
Please
how
tell
did
me.
you land where you landed? I want you to explain and name what you landed in and tell us why it felt like home to you because you kind of made it sound like a homecoming when we talked about it.
Wow, I love. It's funny you're even saying the word. I've actually been seeing the word home recently, and 'cause I moved to yeah, I moved to Colorado a year ago, and I've been finally seeing actually the word home on the mountains as I've been driving, and be like, all right, I'm home now. So it's really been nice. Yeah. So yeah, out of these 30 something modalities, it's and I say this not to impress you, but to impress upon you that it's like, man, I was still stuck. I did the dancing and the traveling and I competed in 10 years in dancing. I lived in Australia, New Zealand for a year and I did martial arts and stuff and lots of cool things. I played like 12 sports and tried all kinds of stuff. And through doing that, for some reason, I still had a lot of self-hatred. I don't know what else to call it. A lot of come on, Lance, you need to do better than that, and a lot of fear on if I was going to go to hell or right. I wanted to be the perfect Christian kid, so then I was really trying to go more of the preacher route. So this whole time I was hanging out my dad on the side, going to college, doing whatever, making enough money there while I was basically spending the rest of it in personal growth, healing, anything I could find, personal growth and development, energy clearing, anything. Because I just this noise in my head was so loud. This inner roommate was so abusive and so screaming. I just wanted to do anything I could to shut it up, to calm it down, to silence this abuser inside of me. And so it was, I might as well tell this story. It was basically around COVID time. So we're at 5, 6 years. Can you believe it's been 5, 6 years?
That's crazy.
Basically around that time after these, all these modalities, I was, trying to make myself take over the Western store because none of the modalities, quote unquote, helped me that much. So as we're going to sell, my parents are asking me like, all right, you want to keep it or not? I go, sell it. I'll never forget. They were like, what are you going to do? These healing modalities don't work. You gonna take over the event business? No. Real estate? No. What the heck, dude? You did all this work. You're not gonna just trim it, trim the crop. Can't do that. Let me tell you, when I heard that, which I've heard many times from my folks, which they meant out of love, they also said, I will say, we want you to follow your heart. They also, noticed I was pretty stuck. So they were like, well, what's the deal here? So I would just, throw myself back in it, back in the store until where I was incredibly depressed, incredibly doing very stupid things because I was so angry and sad and didn't know why. Parents were like, you're so angry, like, good job healing. Yeah, real fun. And again, they didn't mean out of harm or ill will. I used to be really upset about it. Now I'm like, no, they're just like, well, hey, you don't seem better, So it was literally when I told my dad to sell the store, he said something like, what are you going to do next? And I'll never forget, I said, I don't know. But what I do know is this is stopping me from my next step. I think this is keeping one foot in and one foot out. Yeah,
So it's like the burn the ships. You burnt the ship.
I had to.
That
Yeah,
hit me so hard just now because we've talked about this, but I you've never framed it that way. Like you knew it was holding you back. You burnt the ships.
I had to burn the ships. Exactly. That's good. That's actually where my kicker lines come up a little differently. So what happens is I tell my dad that, and I'm driving to Austin, Texas, 100-person country dancing boat party, right? Good time, and Austin can be spiritual, but not exactly where you're thinking of anything to happen, except for, a few beers and a good time. So I'm driving down there, and Amy, I gotta be honest with you, I am yelling at God. I am cursing. I am angry. I am feeling left, betrayed, confused, all of it. Don't trust him. Don't trust myself. I'm being like, why would anyone trust them? I don't trust myself. I remember about halfway through the, party or whatever, everyone's getting real rowdy. I've had like, I think a beer. And because I'm on the mood. I'm glad to be there, but I remember my whole thing was like, yeah, this is gonna last the day. Then what? Then what? Go home, sit at home, little late 20, 30-year-old little boy, sit in your parents' room, fucking cry like a little bitch. That's what I felt like. In one moment, which I still am not exactly sure how to explain, when I was a little kid doing the stuff in church, we would have these called Holy Spirit moments. Or I'm sure I know you've had that. I'm sure people here who are listening have had that. You've had something past your intuition, past your mental. It's like pulling you in a depth of you.
I call them
I'm
divine downloads now.
divine downloads, right? Because it's past the mental. Because you're like,
Yeah.
what is that? I really know it's good whenever my brain's like, what's going on? It's like,
This is
and that
bigger than me.
And that's what happened. Out of nowhere, I'm looking at, I can still see, I'm looking at the back end of this big old double-decker party barge. And I'm like, well, all these people are having fun, but I'm not. And what am I going to do when I get home? And I get this incredible download. And I remember it's like someone hooked my solar plex energetically and yanked me. And I remember I even spun around and started like kind of almost very aggressively walking. And I get concerned. And I remember hearing, what are you doing? And I hear back, I don't know. And I went, well, if you don't know and I don't know, like who's controlling this shit, bro? And I just went, am I having a Holy Spirit moment? There's no way I'm having that. And all of a sudden, I just drop down to my solar plex and I just become like whole or something, this big woo. And I walk up to this girl named Lauren. Her and I still talk. Maybe one day we'll get her on here to laugh about it. She's such a good coach. Oh my God. So I look at her and I just say, I don't know who you are, but don't mess with me because I feel stuff and energy. And I think we're supposed to talk. And like, I just ranted for, I think 20, 30 seconds, something like that. And I just get real quiet. We kind of stare at each other. And I just go, man, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's coming over me. And she just gets this smile. She says later on, she's like, pretty good for a little 100-pound girl with 3 beers. So her little joke. Because she just looks at me and just goes, huh, are you pretty sensitive to energy? I go, yeah. She's like, what do you want to do with your life? I said, well, I just want to help people transform and heal mentally, emotionally. She goes, oh, that's cool. You should just do integrative psychology. I go, okay. She goes, yeah, I have a master's in like counseling or whatever or something. And she's like, yeah, it sucks. Like we barely get any results. Like this stuff is all about how to rewire your brain. I think it's your next step. I literally get a download of like, this is it. And I kind of ignore it because I'm like, I don't know what just happened. I'm driving home the next day and I remember I said, Lord, is this really it? I can feel myself wanting to cry. I said, is this really it? And I heard like, yes, very, yes, inside of me. And I don't know you, Annie, but I was very enlightened. And what I did was I was like, wow, took you long enough. I mean, did you not see all the 30 something? I can give you a list. You want me to give you a list? Because I will. And I'm just, to myself as I'm driving. And then I calm down and I just hear, wow, isn't it a lot nice? I've let you try everything else. So when I give you gold, you know what it's worth, Lance? And I was very enlightened again,
Good.
Amy. I was very enlightened again. And I went, wow, that's nice. I mean, yeah, I guess this is gold coming up, so you say. But I mean, you ain't seeing how hard I've been working, and I'm waiting for you, and blah 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 blah. As I'm driving home, and I
Famous
heard,
last words. Oh God, I love it. You ain't gonna tell me nothing.
"Yeah, I'm going my way." And I heard one of my favorite quotes. I'll never let go. I said, "Lance, did you notice that I've been waiting for you? And did you notice that whenever, because it was yesterday, that you let go of the thing that wasn't supposed to serve you, you finally gave me room to give you your next direction. Who was waiting on who?"
Ooh, that'll take the wind right out of your sails, huh?
So that was the start. I had to let go of something I knew didn't serve me. Even though it made sense mentally, and then that was it. It's been like I counted the other day. It's close to a couple thousand hours of training. And so what these guys created when I found this, because like, what is integrative psychology? So again, it's not therapy, it's not medical thing. It's really under the world, technically of alternative medicine, or it would be like kind of like almost like chiropractic or massage, something like that, really. But it's under the world really just coaching at the end of the day. And what they were able to figure out was a group of 50 doctors, some having 10 doctorates each, and a list of 20,000 active clients. They were able for the last 20 years mix every tool they could find. So technically, I'm a teacher of hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, mental and emotional release, which had a 100% success in getting people out of clinical depression. You can read the book compared to your normal talk psychology, which was nothing even near the results. Um, and then I've also been teaching some who knows ancient art of Hawaiian healing that these guys also had it, with it. So out of all these things, they just found a way to clear out, upgrade the processing system versus adding, which is a lot of therapists and coaches are going to add, we're going to push, we're going to tell you to do more. Yeah, more shit. Woohoo. That is the biggest thing I've learned about these guys and what they're doing. Doesn't mean life's perfect afterwards, but shoot, man, we can look at something, ask the system to let it go, clear it out, move it, release it. And man, I've just seen results not only in my life, but in other people that were just bizarre. And the 3 months after, I think it was was it 3 or 4 months? Yeah. After that happened in Austin, I ended up taking 3 courses. I mean, I went right home and they had a live training like 2 weeks right after. So I was like in Austin. I mean, it was amazing. So I just popped back 2 weeks later and then did a few more trainings, had a weekend session called a breakthrough, 2 4-hour days back to back, 30 something tools, just changed my life forever. And then I knew after that, I was like, I can test this. This is tangible. I could do teams with this. I could hire people that are, other teachers like me and build some kind of system to do revamps on entire families and systems and teams. So that's where I'm at now. I'm looking to build like a homeopathic hospital thing. And yeah, I'm
I,
excited.
I didn't ask ahead of time. So if I ever ask a question that you don't want to answer, you are always able to just say that's off the table or however you want to say it. But your parents, you know how they were making comments about, well, but you're so angry and you're not healed. Can we tell the people what your parents have done since you got into all of this?
Oh, yeah, of course. So
Okay.
ever since that, well, actually, I should probably share when I had my first breakthrough session. I remember I came home. I'll never forget. I was in the kitchen. It was late at night. I just got home, and she just looks at me. She goes, "Hey, Lance, welcome back." I'm like, "Thanks, Mom." She just kind of sits there and stares at me for a little bit, and just goes, "Dude, you look really different." And I go, yeah, I feel really different. And then a few days later, she started crying because she was like, Lance, you look like my son again.
Oh
Like
my
my
gosh, you're
anger.
gonna take me out. I have mascara on. Don't do this to me. Okay. That's
Yeah, she was like, it's my first time seeing my full son back because I was so upset. Then yeah, now my parents have done prac, master prac, they've done trainings, they've done Huna. My dad is him and I are assisting in June into for prac in July, master prac. We're assisting in Carlsbad, so that'll be super fun. It's helped his PTSD tremendously. And now we're doing like father son events together. And now he even told me, Lance, you're living the dream I never thought I could live. So now finding out it's actually I'm doing what he always wanted to do, but again, he didn't feel like he could find the tools that did it. So I'm sort of it looks like I'm bringing on that legacy in a way. Pretty
so
neat.
this is, but we've talked about this. And again, if it's off the table, just say that. But like generational healing, but you're going backwards. You're like heading it back towards your parents. And that's the thing I don't think we talk about healing enough. It actually is generational, but we can go both ways, you know?
Amen.
So when, for instance, like alcoholism ran in my family, and I said, no, it stops right here. So people are like, well, can't you have one drink? Sure, I could. Okay, I could. But I choose not to because I don't want to give it a foot, you know? And my dad started that process, but I want to send it back his way. My dad's passed away, but I still think we heal the past by writing the future in a way that it is just healthy, right? And
Yeah. I think in the scripture, right, it says five generations back and like 1,000 forward or something. I think there's some seriousness about that because
well,
we let
he
go of a
said he would
program.
curse to the third or fourth generation, which if you look at alcoholism, if somebody doesn't break the pattern, or anger or abuse, if somebody doesn't say that stops here, it'll just keep going. And then it says,
Yeah.
but I will bless you to 1,000 generations for those who love me. And I'm counting that 1,000 generations, like we're gonna get there.
Amen.
Because and it's funny, there's a lot that's funny to me.
Well, real quick, what's coming to me is a client. I'll feel like what feels good saying this. So basically, we found out this person was in a very, let's say, intense upbringing, cult-ish kind of thing. And one of the most amazing things we found out is we are helping him release. I had this intuition of I heard generation, I heard about five back. We get there and he says about three or something. And I go, I'm hearing five, but that's cool. His mouth hits the floor and goes, did you just say five? I go, yeah, what about it? He goes, dude, I just did the history recently with my dad. Like, we stopped it in our generation, but it started five generations back. So him clearing that in a way is, don't ask me exactly how, but I know is cleaning up the line some kind of way, through this quantum spiritual tie thing. I'm not sure.
It's so hard to talk about. So like my belief system is so far from Christianity, but it doesn't fit anywhere really, to the point where I'm just chill about it now, because I'm like, I spent so many years feeling like I need to be able to explain this, and now I believe in dimensions and reincarnation and all these things, and I'm just like, woo, we are not where we started from. We are not in Kansas anymore. Okay, Toto, like, come on. And so that, and it, I just gotta say, and they don't know what master prac is and stuff, but his parents joined him because of the changes in him. They were watching him and going, wow, like this finally worked. And you have to remember from earlier, he said his parents were making comments about, you do all this work on yourself, but you're so angry and you aren't changing. And then when he started with what he's doing now, which again, it's hard to describe because these things are bigger than our brains, right? It's not just one thing, it's multiple things. Kind of like this podcast. How do you describe it? Um, and I like when he told me his parents were joining him. This was what, 2 years ago now? It's been
At least,
2 years.
maybe, yeah.
I cried because I was so proud of him and that they bond, over it. And then we're gonna give a teaser, but we're not gonna say too much because we'll go do that later. But Lance is also beginning to work on a book. And I'm so excited for him because it is so Lance that just it's gonna be fun.
It
Fun,
is going to be fun.
fun. You can say the title if you want. We can hold it. I think we should hold it.
We'll hold it now. It's about having fun and that being a good starter point.
I love it. And I think it's so on brand. So do you want to talk about your dancing or anything? Because this is about you. So people are like, we know who Lance is when he shows up to do breakthroughs with Lance on the Rebel Mike podcast. So do you want to share some of your fun
Yeah,
hobbies,
so
some of your
I'll share a couple
travel?
like little hobbies that make me superhuman, I guess. So, one of the biggest thing, yeah, is dancing. So at 18 years old, maybe a little younger, my parents, weren't into it necessarily, but a lot of my darker brothers in college and high school would like, pass this like wave to each other and stuff, and I didn't know how they would do it, and I was like, I'm white, like I don't have that ability. And they're like, well, do you ever practice? I go, no. And like, well, shit, you can't say that. So, one thing led to the next. We started learning how to like body isolations and movement and all this stuff. And I just realized I loved it. So I got into competing in country, and I'm actually going to West Coast Mad Jam here in like 2 weeks to see if I get some more points for intermediate. But yeah, that's a big thing. Country, West Coast, hip hop. doing that for a long time. Some martial arts, like I said, Australia, New Zealand, which for a year. And I just love traveling. And then honestly, my favorite things in the world is I am obsessed with helping people get to the root of like a mental and emotional issue and actually clearing it out because I'm not the biggest fan of surface level. So my obsession and my love, and I think my gift is helping people go to the center of something that's keeping them stuck for forever. And actually finding out it's just a pattern that we can actually update yourself like a computer. To me, I mean, it's changed my life forever. And I've seen so many amazing results from it. It's just what I want to do.
I love it. So something we missed from last time, which we haven't quite aired yet, but I've been devastated, is that you did a dance off and like it didn't record because I was laughing so hard and I accidentally recorded in where whoever's talking. So it's just me laughing, which is hysterical. And I don't know what I'm allowed to play, so I do need to say this. This is fair use. It is for educational purposes, and I don't know how much I'm allowed to use, so we're just gonna go with it. I'm gonna play some techno, and I want you to break it down.
No, I wouldn't recommend techno.
What should
That's too
we
fast.
play?
Um,
You said
Take it. Be like, wow, them.
no.
Now let's see.
um,
I can look at something. I've been doing some. Hmm.
um, let's do a dance mix, right? Like it. So something cool that he does with the competitive dancing is they get a random partner and a random song. And he sent me videos of this, and he's great at leading on the dance floor. So these people don't know each other. And so he draws this woman and the song, and it was really cool. Are you gonna play music?
Yeah, so I'll see if I can. I mean, I don't know how well we can do this. At least stand it up. But I can at least show you some basics of like what it looks like, some hip hop, whatever, just for fun. I'll bring this up a little bit. Let's see.
Just for funsies. So this is what I'm really good at, people. Shenanigans. Lance had no intention of dancing on the show today, but here we are going to have a Lance dance off. And there's a little saying that Lance should never teach children, but he does. It's Lance likes to dance with ants in his pants. And on that note, you pick whatever music and dance your heart off. Out, whatever.
My friend sent me this song yesterday. It's pretty good. So I'll show you hip hop, a little country, and the West Coast.
Awesome. I'm excited.
So let's see. You've been craving something deep, something touching your soul. Tired of loving halfway, tired of losing control. You want a man who holds control, makes your heart beat slow. Love that feels certain, not a maybe, not a no. Oh, baby, the hands that learn every color. Hip hop, we need a West Coast. It'd be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Have her do sugar touch. Through. Couple steps. Let her walk through here. Then put her here. Triple. Triple. Go hand up. Grab her hands. You can go over her. Wiggle. Take country. It'd be like have her here. Have her here. Get down with her. Touching your skin. Have her head dip. Let me trace out moves. Wrap her. Slide. You've been strong too long. Let me take that away. I met your emotion. Salsa. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2. There you go.
I just want to say for the record, if you get hired for some dance videos because of this, they're going to have to go through me if this is how they found you.
Love it.
I
Get me on so you think you can dance. Let's go.
can't dance at all. We have a joke. I don't know if anybody has seen Bob's Burgers, but the daughter, I do that little dance for my girlfriends because it's so bad and painful. And that makes it really funny. But Lance, I'm excited we have a breakthrough tomorrow for the podcast. This is
Oh,
a big one. This week, we are also filming a follow-up with someone. We haven't released the footage yet because we were making some decisions, but the footage, I decided because we waited, let's get her follow-up done, then release the footage, then we'll release the footage for the next one, and we'll do her follow-up later. But the
yeah.
exciting part is you can be on the show with Lance. We do vet people because we need to.
Yeah.
And there is a contract, that just says you understand that you're going to be on a podcast and there's no material promises made to you about anything. I will say this though, I have never seen what Lance does not work. Okay. We can't make promises, but I can say that I'm allowed. So we have an exciting and busy week coming up. And I appreciate you. And I am so proud of you. It has been amazing to be just a fly on the wall watching you change and grow. And you share that. And I know I don't want to be sensational. Even if it is sensational, I'm not trying to be, but we've seen changes in ourselves and others that are so drastic that we have been like we have just sat there and stared at each other. We have laughed, and not because it's funny. We're not making fun, but because it's almost like something cracks inside of you and you're like, everything just changed. Reality, the fabric of reality is different at this moment, and all you can do is just be in that moment, and it sometimes creates giggles. Other times it's been tears, and I don't mean like pretty tears. I mean snot bubbles where you're like, oh my gosh, this is, humiliating. So the reason we will never be live ever for an actual breakthrough session is to protect the person that's vulnerable in a certain state, which is the work state. But we would like to eventually figure out how to be live for sessions like this and for follow-ups. So we're working on all this stuff. We're new to the podcast scene. Really, it's just too interesting to not share. And like I said, I want to have people like, there's a certain rabbi who I find very interesting, and people like Jeffree Star, I'm going to request him on, but I like people that challenge certain narratives and say we don't have to have a duality. And it's the same thing with our mind. And I think what Lance does breaks that out is it's neither good nor bad. A lot
Mm.
of times it's all indifferent. It's what are you focused on? What are you bringing forward? What are you showing up with? And sometimes you need the village. Aristotle said it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I don't want anybody's inner child to die because they don't anyhow. You can suppress them, you can try to push them down, but there's that little kid that reacts inside of you. And I had someone say, if you're having a reaction, it's your inner child. They're like, no, 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 no. I know what this looks like. I don't want to do this anymore. So there's that. But also, when we show up differently for ourselves and we allow those things to heal and fix, we're also saying, I want the future to be better. And there's another great quote. I mean, it's a great quote about standing on the shoulders. Like you can see further, you can go further, raise all the ships, in the harbor when you raise the tide. We should all want to raise the tide, higher the shoulders for someone else to stand on as their starting point. Their starting point is no longer the basement. Their starting point is now from the roof. We should want that for our future families. So I just want to thank you. Thank you for your transparency and dancing and all this fun stuff. And we will be doing some breakthroughs and follow-ups in the near future. Stay tuned. Rebel Mike Podcast signing out.
Bye, y'all.
Hi. Hold on.